Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Squat Cobbler. I am Kelly at KELLYTHUL on Twitter and Instagram.
I am Dr. Mike at Official Pagan on everything.
Please take a moment before you get started here to like, subscribe, turn on notification buttons, buy a damn shirt, do all that stuff. Just
Leave comments,
go. Write us letters.
Write us letters, snail mail.
Knit us something would be nice.
Write down here Kelly's actual street address. So,
you
know, send him mail, send him pictures, gifts.
A huge error on Mike's part since I do the video editing. So there'll be an address there, folks. I sometimes go by Dr. Mike. So just go ahead.
Just go ahead and address it Dr. Mike.
Yeah, the postman knows. So there. Very cool. Well, we are back. It was interesting as we like talking retro gaming. And we recently did a show on the Projectorcade from Arcade1Up. And, in terms of some of our more recent videos, it got a little more attention and viewership than some of them have. So there seems to have been quite a bit of interest in it. It was interesting. This was one where there were usually on a lot of our retro game stuff, so we don't get tons of likes, but it always tends to be a lot more likes than dislikes. This one's run kind of neck and neck. So I think there were some folks that weren't entirely agreeing with some of the things we said, and upon further reflection and some information, we maybe know why now. Because when we first talked about the Projectorcade, there were a couple key things we missed. And Mike, you then came across some information, correct?
Yeah, well, and to be fair, these were not announced things, and it's still not. This is something that is, as far as I know, leaked. On Unqualified Critics channel, they were posting a video from someone else, and unfortunately I can't remember the original source of the video, but somebody had video footage of an actual box of one of these, and then on the box there is some additional information on there. You will be able to swap out the joystick panel for other branded joystick panels with their own sets of games. So this is expandable. There are other things you can do with this, which would have been a great thing to know when we recorded our first video. Yeah. But that is one of the things we talked about, how easily expandable is this? Is it going to be something that's built into it, or something where, because I mean, let's face it, with any of these kind of systems, they're easily hacked to add your own games to them. So of course you could add your own games to it, but then, with the Pac-Man joystick setup, you're somewhat limited potentially with that. So this is interesting. This definitely has me. I'm still not sure I would go down this path for myself personally, but this does make it a way more interesting product to me.
Yeah, I'd agree, because, amongst our concerns were, okay, so how strong is this projector? I mean, that still remains, and that's still, to me, a bit of a concern, right? Is that how dark are you going to really need to have your room to enjoy the games? Given the lumens that they're kind of showing on this one, I think it's going to be a little tight. I think you're gonna need to dim the room a little bit for it, which is still a concern. But the other part was extensibility, and upon our initial thing is like, well, okay, if that's a pretty limited number of games, but now if you can swap in and actually get the benefit of kind of game dedicated controls. So the Pac-Man controller has the controls necessary to play Pac-Man and games of that ilk, and then there's an Atari one, which includes a spinner, and I think I saw a Golden Tee one as well, which is pretty cool. So that really kind of ups the value proposition. I'm assuming, and this is some things we don't know because we don't have all the product specs, I'm assuming you don't get all of those. The initial price.
I'm going to go on a limb and say these are additional purchases. Yeah. And this is where, while it makes it a much more interesting prospect to me, still doesn't sell me, because now you're talking about add-ons to it that you have to purchase separately. And even if it's simple to kind of swap these things out and just pop them in and hook it up via HDMI, I assume. Again, I already have a projector. I have an arcade. I have the Atari Fight Stick. So I kind of have all that stuff.
Yeah, and boy, I'm getting super close on that Atari Fight Stick. I
really, really love it. I'm not saying it just to kind of sell you on it. Like, it's just so well made.
Yeah, and I've seen some setups where they've taken the Fight Stick and they've kind of dedicated into kind of set up like a At Games Legend or Arcade1Up game console set. So we've got that big, sturdy controller, and then they put a good sized screen on it, and then kind of the necessary cabinetry around it. And that's intriguing to me because that might be a pretty cool one to be able to lay alongside my Legends Ultimate, and leverage that and put in my Super Console X. Sorry, Mike, and all that good stuff. So always feel bad bringing it up, but it's a good system. So it would be kind of fun to do that. So yeah, so I think it really did up the positives to kind of say swap in, but you know, you're going to come in at a list price with one of those, and then I can't imagine any single control deck is going to come your way for less than $100. Would be
Yeah, that's kind of what I had in my. I was thinking these are probably going to run like $100 for these things.
yeah. So that starts to add up to kind of
Yeah.
because to make it a multi arcade, if you have to do that, I think someone did mention it in our comments that the way that the cabinetry is designed to hold the controller, that there are some shelves for those extra ones. So I think, you know, they anticipate maybe you have multiple ones of these, and they've done, I do think, and I mentioned this on our first show, they've done a really nice job engineering that deck for the controller and the projector. And so it sounds like they've done some good extensibility stuff there. But
There's a thing, and again, I don't pick sides on this. I like at games, I like Arcade1Up. Most of my stuff's Arcade1Up because I'm building out an arcade. So it didn't make sense to me to go just with a Legends. Do you know what I mean? Even though I am getting the Legends Mini, I wanted multiple arcade games. But you know, one of the things that in the minor ribbing back and forth between at games and Arcade1Up at games has repeatedly said we're not a furniture company as far as how Arcade1Up makes the cabinets that you build yourself, and then risers, and then stools, and all that kind of stuff. They are really good at that though. So this, the setup is reflective of that. And I would say, and again, not picking sides, not doing anything, they are a really good furniture company. So I would expect, like, when I see something that looks like it's good quality like that, I expect that from Arcade1Up. As somebody who has 3 of their cabinets, they're well made.
yeah, and the Legends Ultimate, well, 1.0, very good quality. Although some folks have had trouble with the chrome trim on it delaminating and kind of coming off, depending on the humidity circumstances and all that. But overall, the cabinet stuff was pretty solid. But I think there was a little bit of a drawback on the 1.1. Folks had some trouble, and that seems to come in. So I think probably, well, maybe it's kind of good to be a furniture company to build that solid cabinet and all that. But yeah, so it is interesting. Again, it kind of depends on what your situation is and what you need. If you're looking to kind of in one fell swoop say, I can't project games today, I'd like to do that, I'd like to be able to do some stuff with friends, this is certainly a candidate, the Projectorcade. And as we learn more about it, more extensible, which is fantastic news. There was some mention in the video around additional restrictor plates. So some of the games are it's the 8-position joystick, and then something like a Pac-Man's a 4-position. And gameplay is a little tough if you're playing a 4-position joystick game and you've got an 8-position kind of chuck on your joystick to kind of get that really sharp left, right, up, down kind of stuff going on. So it sounds like they're going to make a restrictor plate or something available to let you a little more easily confine the joystick to the appropriate movements, which is great.
Yeah, and that is one of the things, when we were talking about it initially, again, these things are so easily hackable. Of course, you can add more games yourself to this, but say you just had the Pac-Man layout, that extremely limits the games that you could put on there. So having these swappable joysticks makes sense, or control decks makes sense. I do think still, though, the biggest selling point of the system is something we already touched on, and you just mentioned again. It's a package where you're getting started right out of the box with an arcade setup, a projector, everything. Even though it might not be the greatest projector in the world, maybe you're limited by games until you swap out the joystick. In terms of course, you can hack it, but in terms of, if Pac-Man's the first one that you buy, there's only so many games you can add that use the Pac-Man setup that are going to allow you to get through the game.
Yep. So it's still pretty cool. And as we've mentioned a lot of times, it continues to be great to see At Games, iArcade, um, Arcade1Up, all the folks kind of in some pretty good, healthy competition, each kind of rolling out different ideas and approaches to things. You know, ultimately we win on these things. And so a lot of times what Mike and I like to do when we see something new there is talk about it with you. Certainly interested in your opinions as well. And just kind of give our reaction to it. So we just got additional information on the Projectorcade and wanted to make sure that we shared that with you in a show pretty quick. And on that note, sir, unless you have anything else, I think we'll wrap this one up for this week.
Nope, I think that's it. Would love to hear your guys' opinions. I mean, ours are facts, yours are just opinions, but we would still love to hear them.
Yeah, that's good customer service, Mike. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.